he's got something really special sorted out for us this evening. And what I really like about Stephen is that he can speak for himself. So here he is, Stephen Smart.
Alright, I'm going to start as, I guess, is the kind of tradition at the spinning room by doing a few poems by a few other people who aren't me. So, yeah, I'll speak for myself a bit later. And not to say that I would ever speak for Allen Ginsberg, but I'm going to start with the footnote to Howl, because Howl is just way too fucking long to do in public, ever. Anyway, unless you're Patrick Alexander, and he's not with us anymore either.
And Jazz did it once.
Actually, yeah, Jazz. So this is the footnote to Howl, which I think is very cool. Holy, 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 holy. The world is holy, the soul is holy, the skin is holy, the nose is holy, the tongue and cock and hand and arsehole holy. Everything is holy, everybody's holy, everywhere is holy, every day is an eternity, every man's an angel. The bum's as holy as the seraphim, the madman is as holy as you, my soul, are holy. The typewriter is holy, the poem is holy, the voice is holy, the hearers are holy, the ecstasy is holy. Holy Peter, Holy Allen, Holy Solomon, Holy Lucian, Holy Kerouac, Holy Hunky, Holy Burroughs, Holy Cassidy, Holy the unknown buggered and suffering beggars, Holy the hideous human angels, Holy my mother in the insane asylum, Holy the cocks of the grandfathers of Kansas, Holy the groaning saxophone, Holy the bop apocalypse, Holy the jazz band marijuana hipsters, peace peyote pipes and drums, Holy the solitudes of skyscrapers and pavements, Holy the cafeterias filled with the millions, holy the mysterious rivers of tears under the streets, holy the lone juggernaut, holy the vast lamb of the middle class, holy the crazy shepherds of rebellion, who digs Los Angeles is Los Angeles. Holy New York, holy San Francisco, holy Peoria and Seattle, holy Paris, holy Tangiers, holy Mexico, holy Istanbul. Holy time and eternity and time, holy the clocks in space, holy the fourth dimension, holy the fifth international, holy the angel in Moloch, holy the sea, holy the desert, holy the railroad, holy the locomotive, holy the visions, holy the hallucinations, holy the miracles, holy the eyeball, holy the abyss, holy forgiveness, mercy, charity, faith, holy ours, bodies, suffering, magnanimity, holy the supernatural, extra brilliant, intelligent kindness of the soul. It takes a lot of breath to do that. I'm going to do just a few short excerpts from The Last Interior by Gig Ryan. It's all in sort of fragments. I'm just going to do a few from near the beginning. What you love, you end up hating. The sax plays not smoothly but wisely, just an edge of anguished moderation. His seagull piano landing on the beach, you go breathless, white, the circling wind lasso. Why are these places so red? I give you the hand, serene and altarless. She kisses me, imagining the world that was. Her clothes are going a different direction. Mad, aren't I? But these curls, this head. Turn for a while, I pack you with my statues. Your humor makes a showcase of politics. You embroider yourself around Nicaragua. If it hits the news, your memory represents failure. You cry intelligently. These blue, sensible arms are beginning to mean nothing to me. I'm serious when I see you. I mean, it's not just some crack joke, some alcoholic truth serum. This yellow vodka doesn't slow. She reckons you fiddled so much with the coaster. Cigarettes are too distracting. How did I talk to you once for hours without dying of sunburn? He bears to look at me, and it's for longer than is humanly possible. Some lock above these drifting mouths saying the last thing you got in your head. She reckons you're testing the elastic, you know, hiding. And we'll just do a couple of sounds from another town. By Sound in McLeod. This is called the Orchestral Sonnet. No more let's try that again, shall we? No more my words are fired by melody, where rhythm once stepped out along these lines. Now trumpets call my old dull ear to arms, tone deaf to rolling thunder timpani, and hunting dogs of horns saw duck bassoons beside deep Georgian rivers oboing, where soaring woodsmen strain the violin, and owls cast fluting shadows on the moon. Viola chills ice skaters sad and Dutch. Autumn leaves swirl softly in the cello, swept into dance by cheeky piccolo. Snare and cymbal clash as the storm erupts. Pure glockenspiel rains fall on roofs of tin, until the tambourine sunshines the air and beauty combs and plaits the harpist's hair and balances the tightrope walker's strings. As cliches pour across the page again, the fat, sad clown of tuba drops the pen. I'll try to stumble over another town, a little bit less than that one. Usually it's just very easy to read. For some reason that one just wasn't rolling off the tongue. It's called Another Town. Trees above the skyline are crashing down. Clouds are thinning in the square. Mosquito tanks are rumbling your plans, sitting smoking dynamite and rain. You're using an interpreter when you speak the language. The delegate doesn't trust you, but there's no one else. You straighten his lapel and send him to the dais. He looks like hell. Leaving through the foyer, you step around the mess from the explosion. You carry secrets in your breast. We missed the last train. The veranda iron rattles in the wind of your voice. The roundabout crawls with destinations. In Islamabad, a cock crows before the call. A suitcase by the phone box looks suspicious. You pull the blinds down on the sunrise and clean your gun. I don't know this part of town. The washing hangs like fish. This is a very short one by a poet called Ivan Fernando, who's in a writing course actually just around the corner. I launched this book called Winkling, which was edited by Lee Kaufman, and it was an anthology of poets in a writing group at the Prahran City Mission, and there's loads of good stuff in here. It's excellent. It was very easy to do the launch speech because the book was so good. And I found out after the launch that this poem was actually written for me. I didn't know, but it's kind of cool. It's called Anger. You have anger in your work. Yes, the poet said, but only in my work. You must be an angry man, shouted the angry man. No, I'm very calm. That's why I can write angry. There's lots of good stuff in this. And it's very nicely put together. Just one more, and then I'll do some of mine. This is actually a song by Leonard Cohen. It's called "If It Be Your Will." If it be your will that I speak no more, and my voice be still as it was before, I will speak no more. I shall abide until I am spoken for. If it be your will, if it be your will that a voice be true, from this broken hill I will sing to you. From this broken hill all your praises they shall ring, if it be your will to let me sing. From this broken hill all your praises they shall ring, if it be your will to let me sing. If it be your will, if there is a choice, let the rivers fill let the hills rejoice. Let your mercy spill on all these burning hearts in hell, if it be your will to make us well, and draw us near, and bind us tight, or your children here in their rags of light, in our rags of light, all dressed to kill, and end this night, if it be your will. Alright, I'm going to do some old stuff. Very old stuff. Old stuff. Most of you have probably never heard this before, but Cam has. Cam's definitely heard this before. I haven't done this in a long, long time. It's called To Chase or Not to Chase. He says, "Are you chasing?" And we were surprised. We were just looking for somewhere to have dinner. It's amazing how many smart-ass responses you can think of later. Are you chasing? Yeah, and we're in a car and you're on foot, so you better run quick. Are you chasing? Yeah, I'll close my eyes and count to 10, but then I'm coming after you, and if I catch you, you're it, and no tag backs. Are you chasing? Not unless you ask me really, really nicely. Are you chasing? Well, I hadn't planned to, but hey, I read the papers and I'm on Smith Street, so I must be a junkie. So yeah, what the hell? Are you chasing? I'm sorry, I've got a sore leg and I never chase what I can't catch. It's a philosophy that's actually served me quite well so far. Are you chasing? Be very, very quiet. I'm chasing wabbits. Are you chasing? Well, let's see. Is my skin hideously acne scarred? Is my voice really, really fucking slow? No. Do I have track marks on my arms? No. And do you know why that is? Oh. It's because I'm not a fucking junkie, and even if I was chasing, why the hell should I trust you? I don't know you from a piece of shit, so why don't you just piss off before I do start chasing? Of course I said none of these things, and it's probably just as well, because we had to get out of the car at some point and walk to the restaurant, and I can't fight to save my life, and in the end, you know what they say, world's a dangerous place, and no one likes a smart ass. It's been a long time. I actually worked in children's theatre, just to preface this ever so slightly so it makes some kind of sense. I worked in children's theatre for some months in my early 20s, and the woman that ran the theatre was called Joy. So this poem is for Joy. We'll all have that in common for always. That building, that old woman, that stage. You see, you can escape. You can't escape. Let's try this again. It's either can or can't. We'll all have that in common for always. That building, that old woman, that stage. You see, you can escape, but you can never really leave. There's a little bit of joy that stays with all who've known her. And when I speak of joy, it is a name to which I refer, not the pleasant emotion. And so I write this for all who sailed on the good ship Oxford under the watchful eye, if slightly blind eye, of Captain Joy on any of her many voyages, for the poor souls who were thrown overboard before the ship left port or was already on the high seas, for those who manned the rigging, for those who shouted "Land hoy!" only to realize that it was just a mirage, for the ones who cried mutiny and the ones who realized too late that they were prone to seasickness, for the faithful first mate. I write these words for you who understand that none of us will ever hear the word joy the same way again, never look at a clown or read a simple fairy tale with innocent eyes as we once did because we remember. But for the children who waved from the shore, who smiled and laughed and saw only the beauty of the ship as it sailed past and didn't see through the illusion, for them I hope the magic lasts forever, and that they never wake in fright, bathed in sweat, screaming, "Yes, Joy, no, Joy, I'm sorry, Joy, please don't make me walk the plank, Joy, I can't swim, no!" That was kind of my experience in children's theatre. funny because a lot of people working there had actually been there as children and were like, yeah, we get to work at this cool theatre that we went to when we were 5. And after like a month, everyone was just sort of sitting, shaking. Can we leave yet? Yeah. I haven't done this one for a long time either. It's called Title Unnecessary. First 2 impressions of a woman at a train station. The first, unfortunately, is that she and the man standing next to her, arms around each other, obviously partners, are wearing matching tracksuits. Black bottoms, fluorescent yellow tops, presumably so that cars know where to fucking aim at in the dark. I'm sorry, but not really. We want the world to know that we're a couple, capital C couple, so we coordinate our wardrobes. Shoot me if I ever stop being an individual member of a pair and become, for want of a better word, someone else's clone. I'm in a loving, committed relationship. Can't you tell? We're not only colour coordinated, we're actually wearing different sizes of the exact same clothes that we bought, can you guess? Together, in the same shop, because we're in love and we're prepared to advertise it in fluorescent colours. My second and lasting impression was how beautiful she was. If not for the tracksuit that matched hers so comfortably, I doubt whether I would have registered his existence at all. Not model pretty, not model body, not that you could tell, not in that tracksuit, but even from a distance, she was the most beautiful woman that I'd ever seen, or so it seemed to me then. And I've never felt so bad for being so bitter, mean-spirited, such a cynical prick. Because maybe it was the way that they were together and the way that they felt about each other that made her glow so brightly, made her even from a distance, even with my eyesight as it is, so goddamn beautiful. And maybe it's the fact that I vaguely remember what that felt like that made me so bitter towards them, but I'm starting to remember, and that has nothing to do with either of them. It's called the Happy Cafe. People milling around, no one smiles here, and no one seems to register the incongruity of the fact that we're all standing outside the Happy Cafe. Everyone stands around submerged in their own misery, their own dramas, their own lives, and the Happy Cafe sits cheerfully by, bright and colourful as a rainbow after a thunderstorm. But they don't notice, just like they wouldn't notice a rainbow. I watch their faces as I've done so often in this place and others, some of them tired and worn from years of care, some just fearful and ignorant, some putting on masks to keep the world at bay, some relaxed into a tolerant acknowledgement that this is just the way of things, that their lives won't change, won't get any better. Every now and then a couple of people run by chatting and laughing, but they're the exceptions, not the rule. No one standing around here laughs at all, only the people on their way to somewhere else. And no one smiles outside the Happy Cafe, and you have to go inside. Slowly working towards some newer stuff. I used to do this poem periodically, and every time I did it, I would edit it just before I went on stage. So it's actually considerably shorter than it was when I wrote it, and I think that's a good thing. I haven't actually edited anything out this time, but maybe one of these days I will again. Something's wrong. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It wasn't part of the plan so carefully laid by someone or other who should have known. Logic's flown out a fucking window now, hasn't it? Details are sketchy, but someone claims to have seen it chasing a chicken across a road, which at least clears up that question, though I wouldn't want to be the chicken when logic catches up with it. What are they teaching in schools these days? You should respect the albatross around your neck and never ever mix your metaphors. I aspire to be a lot more goat-like in future. It's not a riddle, don't try to figure it out. You overanalyze everything. Just accept the fact that purple nights will get you into heaven. Don't fight the inevitable, we all have our own imaginary monkeys to deal with. Quit your bitching. Squeak once for yes, ram a fork into your retina for no. You're disgusting, always makes an impact. Don't give me your high ideals, your modern morality. I live at the bottom of the ocean and I don't give a damn. If you pin the tail on the donkey, it'll kick you. I don't advise it in any way. How would you like to be the piñata when people start whacking it with a stick? Pass the parcel, you greedy fucker, the music hasn't stopped yet. Of course, the real tragedy is that you really believed that you were MacGyver, and he believed that he was Princess Diana, but he was a little bit nuts. I'll take advantage of all your strengths and exploit all your weaknesses. Turn around so I can hit you in the back. Calling me ugly coming from you, I take that as a glowing endorsement of my chances of becoming the next supermodel. I am the voice of a generation of people who talk a pile of shit. I am the enemy, but only of myself, and that guy. Smooth or crunchy, get into it any way you can. We're all socially retarded and I've got ingrown toenails, but you don't care. Don't want to hear my problems. I tried my hand at comedy once. No one heckled and I was so disappointed that I never did it again. I'm dropping hints like bricks on your foot. It all starts with a kiss and ends in bloodshed, and the little man is always laughing. He thinks I'm ridiculous, but he still insists on singing the theme song from Charles in Charge, and you know how irritating that can be. A fork in the road is better than a knife in the neck, don't you think? No, you don't think. That's half your problem. And what is it with the word splendid that just rubs people the wrong way? Splendid, splendid, I could say it all day, but I won't. What would be the point? The point is sharp wind piercing skin. I'll be a monkey's uncle. I'll have to have a talk with that sister of mine. Bob's your uncle is my family's oldest joke, reeled out at Christmas and other special occasions. Can you guess why? I was getting to a point. No, that's a lie. It's all lies, all of it. Just sharpen your pencil and keep quiet. That's right. Go to sleep. You'll wake in hell, but that's okay. Here, it's nice this time of year. I guess I'm kind of trying to do some sort of journey thing. This is all kind of old. It's all it's some sort of I don't know, stuff that I was doing when I started doing readings, and then kind of going through notebooks and eventually getting to the present. So I hope there's some sort of feeling of the journey involved in all this. Oh, you know that you get a laugh. This is called Casey Chambers kind of morning. It's not so bad to be awake early on a Casey Chambers kind of morning, sitting on the floor of an Elwood flat, stereo on, sunlight peeking through the window, trucks rumbling by. Try to figure out exactly when you stopped saying you hated country music and started to listen, to appreciate, to realize that music, good music, has nothing to do with genre or fashion. Trends are passing. Good music has no such expiry date. At what point did you turn that corner? It was, if you recall, on a Johnny Cash kind of night, and we've all had at least one of those at some point. So here you are, and time is transcended for a while because good music has no time, no place, no date, except in the memories you attach to it. You could be any place at any time, and the music coming through the speakers would still be beautiful, and it would still be a Casey Chambers kind of morning. It's the problem with going through old stuff. You realise that some of it wasn't that fantastic.
It's all good, it's all good.
This one was alright, actually. Sandy really liked this one, and I wrote it for her. So. This is the point where the fear has begun to take hold so often before that I had begun to see it as inevitable. It becomes difficult to breathe, impossible to sleep next to the one by whose side you have slept so often. So I begin to retract. The distance that separates me naturally so often from all other people becomes an impossible chasm that I can barely see across, let alone contemplate crossing. I see the end from almost the beginning, but this now. I look for the end, and although I suppose it will inevitably come, I can't see it, can't feel the fear, don't know what lays ahead, don't know what will happen, put no expectations on what is to come. I'm happy to be in each moment as it arrives, and I refuse to wait for the bubble to burst, because I can sleep next to someone and not worry about where to put my arm. This was actually in the first CD. This is called In the Winter City. I haven't done this for a long time either. There'll be a rejoinder to this later. My wild winter city, not a moment to lose, too much to do, another opening, another festival, gig, reading, exhibition, they say, and they should know, every city has a soul. Oh yes, my city's got soul, a winter soul, a grey coat tailored to fit. We may be on the coast, but we're not golden children. We wear our emotional scars with quiet pride. Ours is not a smiley town, but reserves its moments of joy for those who know and love it best. Not an action flick, but a character study, heavy with dialogue and a plot you have to follow closely, or you might miss something important. My city has subtitles, not badly dubbed American accents. My city mixes its metaphors without shame and doesn't give a damn what you may have heard. My city has many pieces, many pieces that make up the whole. Diversity at its best and worst. It sucks you in, then dares you to leave it, knowing full well that you will return if your heart beats to its unique rhythm. My city defies explanation. You have to feel it to know it, to understand what it is and why. No easy answers, no box you can jam it into without it seeping through the cracks, escaping the captivity you forced upon it. My city is not simple, rational, straightforward. It's an eccentric, an iconoclast, don't you know? So this is a love poem for my city, not a hallmark moment nor a tourist postcard. This is the song that I sing from my heart to yours if you feel it there. And if you don't, I can only offer my condolences. If you haven't heard a word I've said really heard, then you don't know, and I can't tell you what you're missing. What the hell? It's called Malfunction. Computers make me insane, muttering to myself, swearing loudly, randomly. It's a constant battle, frustration. I can't function, it won't function. Things that should be simple aren't to me. Any place is better than in that room with me. At the point of meltdown, I can't speak or think, just grunt, shake my fist at screen, mumble, swear, grunt, gesture wildly. Suddenly I am a caveman faced with the future, the computer. I poke it with a stick, hit it with a rock. Nothing happens, nothing. I stare at it, grunt, scratch my head and back slowly away as it becomes animated. Things start floating across its glassy face. If I was sane, had not regressed to this state, I would know this is just the screensaver, but I do not. I become terrified. I grab the beast, run outside in full view of my neighbours, screaming dementedly. They say nothing. They've seen it all before. They just stay inside where it's safer. It's appropriate because I got my computer back today. They'd had it for 3.5 weeks. I turned it on and found out that one of the problems I'd been having hasn't been fixed. Some days you have to put out an APB on your sanity and try to remember how the hell you got home, where you were before you got home. Is that a tattoo or an intricate series of bruises on your arm? And why does the phrase mile high, elephant gun, butt monkey, fire grave digging can't keep circling your brain like it's trying to remind you of something you would rather forget? Sometimes it's better to just forget. You never learn from your mistakes anyway, but something still nags at the back of your mind, mingling with the throbbing in your head. You vaguely consider getting out of bed, try to, briefly hit by a wave of nausea and a shaft of sunlight that you certainly didn't invite into the room. You rarely invite sunlight into your room, but this morning of all mornings, and you can't roll over, turn away, because whatever it is that's on your arm hurts like hell. Catch a bus, catch a glimpse, catch fire. Catch yourself in a moment, but there's always a catch. Are you catching my drift, catching on? Is it catch 22 or just you? Turn the latch, light a match, add your fuel, catch fire. If it makes no sense, be ready to catch a glimpse in a moment of what is evident, burning your eyes, catching you aware, a moment of surprise before the light dies. It wasn't all lies. It can't have been with all you've seen. You caught a glimpse, so you know that this is the catch. Turn the latch, light a match, add yourself, catch fire. one for me. Actually, I'm ready. I will do it. Wait. Yeah. I want to be the breeze that caresses you so delicately that you barely notice it at first. I want to be the ache in the small of your back where my hand once was and will be again. I want to be all your deepest secrets whispered in an ear in the dead of night. I want to be the finger of ice and the shiver of remembrance, a word, a touch, a feeling etched forever so deep inside. When you lay in the bath, wrapped in the heat of water and steam, I want to be the flicker of the candle that stands alone between you and the darkness. And I want to be the drip of water against your thigh exposed to the night's cool air. I want to be the single bead of sweat that hangs suspended till you think it may never roll down your back, your ass, your thigh, the back of your knee. I want to wake you in the middle of the night with just a thought when I'm not there, then be the thought that eases you back into sleep. I want to be the dream that lingers all through the next day that you can't quite remember, but you just can't shake. I want to be all of these things, and perhaps I am, but I want to be more. I want to be closer, inside you, outside you, all around you. I want all 5 of your senses to know me as well as you know yourself. I want to have the most devastating effect on you in the gentlest way that you can imagine. There are no words for what I want you and I to be, but you will feel it and you will know. You will know. Where did it go? I had it a second ago. No, it's good. Oh, here it is. It's called In the Winter Dark. This is after, can anyone who remember who made the film In the Winter Dark? It had Ray Barrett in it, Miranda Otto, I think it was in there somewhere. It was a really good film. It was a very quiet film.
I think it was a woman.
Yeah, it was. It was from a book.
Yeah,
short
Tim
story.
Winton.
So this is after the film. An unease in the air, something lurking out there, a feeling of not quite right, something on the edge of darkness, the edge of your mind, in the corner of your eye. A person could go mad out here, cut off from the world year after year of uneasy silence, something lurking, something not quite right. Cut the tension with a blade and find blind panic beneath. And if a person did go mad out here from all this claustrophobic open space and closed mouths, this silence fraught with unknown demons, if a person did go mad, who would be around to see, to tell, and who would speak a word of those that were, bury you dead, then retreat back into the silence, alone with your own demons and the memories of all that you have done out here in the winter dark. Somebody accused me last night of, and I think they meant it as a compliment, I'm not entirely sure. They said, wow, you're like that high school angry kid, and you're always angry, and all your poems are angry. And I was like, well, no, actually, that's not true. Just some of them are angry. This is possible.
That's to do with being a high school kid. I was one myself.
If a tree fell in a forest as you sat writing a poem and only you were around to hear the sound it made, would it break your train of thought? And could you resist the temptation to describe the experience, to write it down, to hail yourself a Zen warrior? Could you perhaps distract yourself by imagining the money that the tree would be used to make, that you would never ever see, having chosen to be an artist, a poet? And would you wish for a moment that you had chosen instead to be a sculptor, as the wood of the tree that fell in the forest was of the finest quality that human eyes had ever beheld? Now, of course you wouldn't have thought about anything but the purity of the moment, least of all about money, because you are an artist, so you eat only inspiration. And this was written, obviously, during, it's not really about the war that we're not having anymore. It was more about the television coverage of the Second Gulf War. They had this amazing kind of 24-hour coverage, and even if there was nothing much going on, they would still be kind of sitting there going, "Ooh, is something happening? No, no, no." And there must have been 1,000 things happening that they wouldn't show. And so you got this really weird kind of skewered coverage of, it was like there was no war going on, but there actually was, they just weren't showing it. So it's very strange. And this is, yeah, sitting in front of the television, watching nothing. Today I saw a plane sitting on a runway, a city not consumed by fire and rubble, a man with nothing to say saying nothing, to a woman who was earnestly agreeing while also saying nothing, and a factory that never produced weapons didn't get bombed, and I watched and waited, listening to more people saying nothing, and became somehow restless. But all the channels were running the same show, and I began to think that perhaps there was no war, that they just made it all up, or that perhaps the real horror of this war was death from sheer boredom. And back to the plane on the runway, which apparently at some point had taken off, flown somewhere and then came back, but now remained resolutely stationary. And the man and the woman made comment that, yes, this is the same plane as the one we saw 5 minutes ago, and yes, it did go somewhere and then it came back. And it has done this several times. Did it go on a bombing raid? Well, we're not aware of what its purpose may have been, but it's been on screen, so it must be interesting. And it's a big plane, not as big as some of the other planes, but quite large and possibly loaded with bombs. In all likelihood, this is a possibility, and it has wings. And oh, look, no, sorry, we thought something may have been happening, but that doesn't appear to be the case. And somewhere at some time, a large foot crashed through a television screen, making a loud noise. Some claim it sounded like an explosion, but they couldn't confirm that it actually was. In fact, they weren't in the area at the time, but a neighbour told them when they got home that there may have been a noise, something perhaps like an explosion. The neighbour, however, could not be found for comment, and sometime later, while the television lay in wreckage, television stations began to broadcast a plane taking off, a soldier captured, others with guns, smoke billowing from a city. But in the absence of a television, I remained unaware of any of it. It's important to point out that there was actually a war. They were actually bombing and killing people, as opposed to the current war on terror, which is not really a war so much as an excuse for terrifying people. And this kind of follows that, I guess. I've never been to your country, met your God, played with your sister's new baby, drunk tea with your neighbour, written poems in your yard, looking at unfamiliar plants, flowers, trees. I have never shopped in your market, busked in your main street for change. I've never felt your fear in times of war, of famine, of earthquake. We did not share moments as children, best friends or innocent games, first kisses or nights drunk on wine. Some days it seems so strange that we have never met. Some days it makes me so sad for reasons I cannot understand or put into words. This is actually the rejoinder to the first Melbourne poem that I figured I should write while I was in Sydney. I figured I'd get stoned when I came home. I mean, stoned with rocks, not the other. But people seem to like it here as well. People in Geelong liked it a lot. Of course, most of the people that we were in Geelong with were either from Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth. So, I don't know, we didn't really have much of an audience at that gig. But the people in the bar liked it. Melbourne, my love, so quietly arrogant, pretentious sister to the more glamorous cities of the north, so European in your own mind, your Victorian and post-colonial Gothic architecture being swamped by modern horror show 5-year-old child city planning and building blocks to stretch infant fingers to the sky. Look up! Is it a bird? A plane? No, it's another growler building another really big thing, leaving his mark on a city that has simply learned to look the other way. Buying another black overcoat for the winter of our couldn't give a shit too caught up in our own lives, the suburban sprawl out of control, the inner city that forgets the suburbs they came from, and 76% of them from Brisbane anyway. As long as bar open stays open, couldn't give a damn, don't go to the casino unless it's someone's birthday to make a political statement. Used to be a member of the Socialist Left Alliance, but they're all wankers really, who can be bothered with all that crap. And black is the new black from St Kilda to Preston, but who cares what it is in Sunshine or Doncaster until you inherit a house in Carnegie at 35 and retire to a quiet life, having put your time into the inner city, contributed to the culture, and all the while shopping centres become satellite suburbs, where chain stores called ghetto sports and streetwear turn our young men to tired clones of other bored, lazy little boys, and the soul of my city is choking on another juice bar and someone else's fashion mistake, and oversized buildings with fancy this and world first that, a government that wouldn't lift a thumb except to remove it from Steve Brax's ass to sign away our culture and heritage, just like the bastards they were put in office to replace. And things up asses isn't a bad metaphor, because Melbourne, if you had your head any further up your own wannabe Berlin, but you're just a big bogan in nicer cut pants ass, you could look out of your mouth and see that you've become complacent, self-satisfied, gentrified, middle-class, middle-aged, and you're not as cool as you think you are. You'd see that there is life beyond your favourite cafe, and that doesn't just mean your 5-year plan for getting to New York, where people will truly appreciate you, that you're a big city behaving like a small city, and that you and Sydney really aren't as different as you'd both like to think. And I realise that I'll have to move to Geelong after that last comment, because Melbourne doesn't have a sense of humour about itself, though we pride ourselves on snide jokes about other people in other cities. And I'll be banished from all my favourite bars and cafes by people who also grew up in the eastern suburbs but just don't like to talk about it, now that they've achieved their dreams of escape, of forgetting, of becoming the people who won't drink at the bimbo bar but will eat the $3 lunchtime pizzas. So I will move to Geelong, where they appreciate the fact that Melbourne is not the epicentre of the universe. And if maybe someday Geelong becomes the new Melbourne, I hope it remembers to burst its own bubble every now and then, because God knows the old Melbourne will have inflated its own bubble till it explodes, leaving goo from Alinda to Deer Park. Alright, I'm going to start wrapping towards some sort of conclusion. Fuck it, which way I'm going to do that? From fluorescent room to fluorescent corridor to fluorescent car park, I never noticed you looking so Paris Hilton in the summertime. My head is reeling at the peroxide dreamscape of it all. This world in which we process semantics and choose the friendliest tuner to buy, consume, swallow this all-encompassing artificiality, call it organic bottled water, sports drink with a twist, and the twist is you're being hand-fed bullshit. I'd slap us, but I know where we've been recently. I didn't want to know, can't concentrate with these fucking lights ambushing us at every move, strategies out the window. These rooms are windowless. These lights alter sight, thought, perception. I'm getting a headache and it won't go away. These lights do not move at the speed of light. This is beyond mere annoyance. This is physiological. My education was trashed to save on light bills, and this feeling of unreality I always took responsibility for was not my responsibility. Skin takes on an unnatural hue, there is no hue and cry, turn the other cheek, but find it is a similar unhealthy pallor, and I'd slap it, but I know where it's been recently. Same place as mine, under the fluoros, watching reruns of vague mental instability, and the girls dressed as Paris Hilton. It's a cheap shot, but I'm having a panic attack and it's all I can manage. In the stronghold of fear for such a long time, cut the brake line and let go. Hoped it wasn't too late to find a decent title. Don't make jokes about carpet bombs, no reason, just don't. Be serious for a moment and think about the reasons you keep begging for an apocalypse despite your lack of religion of any kind. Do you want a relationship with Jesus, or are you just being a fucking smartass? This is called Dreaming in F. Scott. Do we have any F. Scott Fitzgerald fans in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have like 2, 3, 4. Gatsby's dead. He had other books and he had short stories. He had wonderful short stories. I always liked his short stories better. Dream yourself awake, lying on the rocks at the bottom of a cliff as the world stopped spinning, staring up at F. Scott Fitzgerald, screaming like you could burst. This is all your fault. This damn romanticism. It was never meant to end like this. Remember times when you could wake from a dream seemingly at will, not wondering what it meant. No vague recollections of massacres, dismemberment, and so much blood. Silent faces staring passive. Get out of my dreams, Scott Fitzgerald. Lying at the bottom of the universe that has taken you by force and made you responsible for something you can't remember having done. And that music in your head, these rocks digging into your flesh, this is not real. This is your subconscious messing with you. This is you messing with yourself. I think I'm trying to tell me something. I think Fitzgerald may be a metaphor for what you could be if you weren't so self-destructive. You don't want to die like that. I'm lying on the rocks at the bottom of the universe, trying not to refer to myself in the third person. I don't want to drink myself to death. But these lights that are blinding, this face staring back at me, these rocks digging into my flesh, have I fallen so far? Tell me why I can't wake up anymore. I used to be able to dream myself awake, but then I used to not dream of F. Scott Fitzgerald. Just a couple more. This one I wrote for Melissa Petrakis for her last book launch. Some days are not the days of wine and roses, rather the clash of breaking glass, scattering our petals into the harsh winter gale. I mix my metaphors simply to tell you things that you already know, that life is cruel and unpredictable, that sometimes we freeze and burn all at once, scarred and numb. I cannot take away the scars, but our strength is in our ability to combat the numbness. We have strength together. There is so much love here. Your metaphors were always more succinct than mine, but wine is not a bad one. This foolishness, in the popularity of rosé, returned, the wine that is both red and white at once, yet a poor version of either. You, my dear, are not rosé. You are at different times the best of both. Red, full-bodied and heady, white at its most delicate chill till it almost can't be felt, but still has the taste of angels. Red again, a storm in a glass, sunsets and blood. I can't match your metaphors. Your toes in shallow oceans, your rice grain cocoons, grey clouds casting off wolves, your locusts and little red helicopters, the knock at the stable door. You are so careful, such design so efficient and succinct, yet still heartbreaking. How do you do that? And how do we know each other so well when we are so different? You so small yet filled with strength I can scarcely fathom, and I so cumbersome, so clumsy large but still frail. Some days it seems we balance, but inside we are so very much alike. I am proud of you always, proud to know you, to share the wine if not the roses, the wine that runs through the veins of all poets. A poet you have always been, a drunk I remain. My glass I raise to you with love, my dear Melissa. Long may the air ring with the sound of your blood. If the stars turned purple, would you bat an eyelid, or just carry the universe in your pocket, the mysteries explained away with the fairies? I marvel at the strangeness all around us. You take it in stride. I am wide-eyed, dream while awake, edges blurred, jumping at shadows, streetlight paranoia. You're making eggs scrambled sunny side up, humming a tune I recognize immediately but cannot name. What was the title of that film we liked so much? I can't remember things today. See it clearly but forget the words frustration. You chuckle, no problems, you say. No problems, you say. Jump, triple backflip with a twist. Another dream, I do not wish to wake up. Try hard to be content, easy going to laugh and learn, but my head is spinning, I can't balance. I never was very stable. You laugh and every time I am relieved. These moments I treasure. The clouds lift, brow clears a little. Perhaps I am too serious, too intense, locked inside this head with all its notions, isolated and afraid. Want you to know that I'm trying. Guess that there's not too much you don't already know, or at least suspect. Trying so hard to be comfortable, easy. It's not my natural state. I am four walls with double locks on all the doors. I'm always misplacing the keys. You hand me a skeleton, assure me it will open all of them, no troubles. I'm hesitant yet willing, trying hard to not need to try so hard. Stumbling, sometimes falling back into old patterns, guard my locks. Knowing you have copies of all the keys, can open me at will, yet choose to let me draw my own conclusions. I guard my locks like a dragon, knowing it's run out of fire, still trying to look scary. My claws blunted, age setting in, not the monster I once thought myself to be. You peel away the scales, I ready myself to leave the cave. I'm going to do two more, and I think I may have been up here for a very long time, so I apologise. This one's for me. It's called Hank. If you look really closely, our national anthem says little more than let's get pissed because we live near the beach. We have a pretty nice country, lots of trees and animals, fertile soil, good jobs for all, and fair enough, or it would be if it were true. So let's try being a little bit more honest, shall we? Our land is girt by sea. In other words, when the polar ice caps melt and the seas rise, our major cities will be largely populated by fishes, by which stage we'll all have drunk ourselves to death anyway, so I guess we won't mind. We're mowing down our native forests and bushland, so our native animals are slowly dying off or being culled for getting too close to people with guns. So much for nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. At least they got the rare bit right. Golden soil, over farming, fucking salinity, wealth for toil, minimum wage, job slaves, vast unemployment, work for the dole, no future for you, but still we should be rejoicing for we are young and free. Advance Australia, fair. Free unless you're a subversive, and young unless you're a war veteran or the oldest person alive in Australia, in which case the government and the media will hound you into your televised grave. And as for the other verse of our great anthem, I don't know, mate, something about Gough saving the Queen or some bloody thing that who knows or cares. Let's be honest. Advance Australia Fair represents us about as well as our cherished flag, and in both cases we need a replacement. So here's a version I think you're going to love. You ready? God knows I'm not. It's a big bloody island. By bloody oath, yes it is bloody big. With people and beer and stuff on it. It's pretty old, not very cold, with buildings in some places where there aren't, except for big cages full of refugees who should have known better than being foreign, stupid bastards, bloody ingrates. Sorry, sidetracked. Yeah, bloody beer and footy on a bloody big island in joyful strains, then let us sing Aussie, 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 oi, oi. Now isn't that better and more true blue, mate? What's that you say? It's not representative of all Australian voices? Damn, I left out the bit about Rose Hancock Porteous and the entire Australian Indigenous population. Silly, silly me. Oh well, we'll just have John Howard stick it in his next preamble and she'll be right, Cobber. Take the handbrake off and begin to roll. All trains of thought leap onto the same track. What is a cliche if not a good line that's been beaten and kicked to death? Someone invented train of thought, but I don't care about that. Train of thoughts, bridge over discombobulated waters, Foster and Allen play the Muppets, cut off my own head to spite the face that keeps staring out of the mirror. Repeat, I am not John Malkovich, and back slowly away. I never claimed to be a war-torn country that someone would one day write bad folk songs about. That wasn't the impression I set out to convey. Still, I'm entitled to go forth and rant against the dying of indignation, the selling of our right to not feel positive 100% of our wasted lives, not happy, not trying hard enough. So there's a war on someplace. You aren't being drafted or shot at. What the hell do you care? I refuse to submit my empathy. I'm entitled to feel bad while millions are suffering. This is my mess too, it's not hypothetical. We're beyond that now. This is life and death, don't you see? All I have is cliches and this empathy I was given that allows me to say with some conviction we're all in this together. Beyond petty squabbling and anti-conceptual entertainments, the mindless hum of day-to-day grab bag, pinball, traffic jam, noise pollution, what's for dessert, nice neck brace, is that the latest thing we're wearing? Who called me the blunt end of a rhinoceros? Strip it away, forget all that for a moment and look at the person next to you. Feel the air that separates you, know that this is all that separates you. This is not preaching. I'm opening my belly so you can see the entrails if that is what it takes, and when does it ever take less? They say you can't change the world, no one will listen to you. At best you preach only to the converted. I say again, this is not preaching. This is a cry in the night, a plea for sense and reason. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm not trying to sell you anything or convert you one way or the other. I don't care what you believe, other than that we are all one species, and this allows us to feel each other's pain. This is elemental. Put the pin back in the grenade and think for a second about the swamp we crawled out of. Try to remember a time before you were born, and don't call it a failure if you can't. It's all in the attempt to connect us back together. To remember that we all taste the same to the wolves and the sharks. I consider it my responsibility to say these things because my lack of suffering is not an excuse for complacency, does not excuse me from the human race, and